Hey Jen, I made this video just so you could see exactly what I was going to say in the area superintendent's meeting. This presentation is completely formatted the way Lindsay and I had discussed when I spoke with her over the phone. I am going to read my notes to you. I just want you to have a good understanding and know what's going on. So, my goal today is that you walk away with an overview of I Choose and how we can provide solutions for your secondary campuses. There's a lot to know about virtual learning, and it can appear complicated. It took me the first year just to understand how all the rules, regulations apply to attendance, funding, and enrollment. The second year, I spent learning how to build and deliver content with good pedagogy. And next year, I want to work on our mentors and adjunct teacher accountability. But first, take a look at all the courses that we offer. In addition to everything that you see there, all high school credit courses, we also offer any course that's offered through TXVSN with an outside, somebody outside the district. These courses that we offer for next year, we update that every year based on the following: needs determined by counselors and CTE department, needs determined by budget, and courses that are not being offered or making. We have some students that come and say, hey, this course was offered at my campus, but it's never made. So we can offer that course. And student success. So, for example, our social studies teacher has about 200 students at all 5 campuses. This includes KCA, and he has probably 11 preps. So in some of his preps, he may just have one kid that's in one class period at one campus. But when we look at his simple tallies, we look at the totality of every high school and all of the courses he is assigned. And that's similar for the other teachers as well. Grows. We have a lot of grows here. The biggest one is that students have the access to take classes that are not offered face to face on their campus. So the biggest example of that is at middle schools. We started that program because CTE realized that it's very hard for 8th graders to choose a pathway when they really don't know that much about the pathway. So by offering classes that are for CTE, those 8th graders, and yes, we have a couple of 7th graders that do that, can learn before they choose a pathway what pathway they might be interested in. This also helps, again, I talked about classes that don't make, but at Keller High we have several students that are taking our classes because they allow them to take all of the courses that they want, because AP classes are not offered every period for every kid. And we keep the class sizes down. So if the class is too full and the kid is okay with being in a virtual class instead, we don't put them in with the classroom teacher. They can be in with us. Students can take advantage of internships and practicums. That is how we started. So at CTE, when they offer those internships and practicums, it's during a class period of their day. But a business wants someone that can be there all day long and be flexible with their schedule. So we have a lot of kids that take our practicums and internships, take our courses for practicums and internships. And one of our kiddos I can think of, Skylar, who is now working as shadowing an ambassador for the Chinese embassy, and it was because he was able to take a practicum with a law firm here in Keller ISD. Flexibility in the master schedule, because if the kid is coming to campus like the middle schoolers do for virtual learning, I can have so many different kiddos in that room taking different classes, but just with one teacher who doesn't have to be certified. And we can now use paraprofessionals. I'm going to get to that later. But it doesn't have to be a certified teacher. This really can help solve issues with the master schedule. I go back to Keller High because they have the most students, and their counselors, they haven't had as much turnover on their campus, so their counselors are kind of get it, and they call us up and ask, hey, this class is too full, where can we put these kids? On that same note, for our kids that can't provide transportation to take geometry and algebra 2 at the middle school level, this is a solution for them too. That way, we're not denying a kid just because they have transportation, and it shouldn't put too big of a strain on the master schedule because they can either be in the back of a class with the math teacher or in the lab. Elite athletes. Now, this is a low percentage of students, but we do have a handful of kids that, because they are elite athletes, meaning they have the potential to go to the Olympics and such, and they want to meet with the specified trainer, and that maybe that trainer only provides services during the day, this really does help them. Students do not have to drop out to help support their families. I had a young man come to me. I had a young man come to me a couple of years ago, and that was his desire. Was his parents were encouraging him to drop out because he the economy is bad and they needed him to go to work. And since then, I found several kids that fall into this. And the more and more I can get the word out of what we can do, I believe the more we can help, because I am hearing that this is an epidemic across the United States of high school kids dropping out to support their families. We can help with that, and we do have students that take our classes for that reason. Students who are afraid to attend school can still learn. Coming out of the pandemic, we have a large amount of high schoolers, I'm sure you are very well aware of this, that have anxiety about going to school. But in our small lab, I can still get their ADA funding by having them come in to KCAL and work in the lab a portion of the day, and they can still do school, so we don't lose them. In fact, again, I hate to keep going back to Keller High, but their counseling department has reached out to people who have left the district and got some of those people back, because the large percentage of people who have left Keller ISD that are at the high school level are doing it because we don't have a virtual option. And a lot of surrounding districts do, that took advantage of Senate Bill 15. Students don't have to wait. Now, this is what I hear from kids that they like about us. They don't have to wait for the teacher who's absent, for the teachers having to deal with behavior problems in class or provide interventions for students in class. They can continue to learn and then work on other things. They also don't have to wait for the transportation. I have a few students who prefer to take their core classes through iChoose, so they can be at KCAL and they don't have to drive back and forth. A lot of times this gives them more time to work on those classes that they really do have a strong interest in. I'm right now thinking of several welders that we have, and they're making great grades. They're doing wonderful. Students can get the help with what they need when they need it. This is probably the biggest thing. There's a lot of kids, especially at high school, that are intimidated to ask questions in class. Not always because of the teacher, sometimes it's because of their peers. And with our program, they can either hop on a bus, come over to KCAL and talk with the teacher face to face, or they can Zoom with teachers. And we also have our teachers go out to campuses all the time. Right now, having Terry Mullins as our CTE teacher, full-time virtual and not an adjunct, she's able to go out to middle school classes and help her students one-on-one. And I have heard nothing but praise and joy from our mentor teachers that she can do that. So they get help with specifically what they need, and they don't have to worry about the other kids around them. Make other classes smaller. I go back to Keller High. When they're having an issue with that master schedule, they don't have to override the seat count that's already full in that class and put a kid in there because it's the only thing that will work with his schedule. They can have those students with us instead, as long as the kid's okay with taking a virtual class. Those students do not have to be on campus because our classes are 100% TXVSN approved, except for two, and I'm going to get to that later on. Those kids can do their class from home. TXVSN does not require us to take attendance. The state, because we partnership with TXVSN, does not require us to take attendance for those courses. And that's one of the reasons we can put a paraprofessional in the room with them, because they don't have to take attendance. We generated over $1 million this year just for CTE. And I'm going to show you all the money that we made on the last slide, but I just wanted to put that plug in there. This is in addition to ADA funding. CTE gets, it's about half, 45-55 split. I forget who gets what, but it's about half CTE getting and the district getting. And Rob Wright has agreed to use those funds to pay for paraprofessionals to be in this place of a mentor on campus. Now let's look at grows and solutions. So these are places that we know, and I'm sure you know, we have a weakness in and we need to work on. I've talked about adjunct and mentor teachers being my focus for next year, and there's a big reason why. Adjunct teachers, because they can only work on their courses outside of contract time, I have a harder time getting in there and getting a hold of them always. They also report to their campus principal and not to me. So what we're developing is a contract that adjunct teachers would have to sign every year. So at the end of a year, if I get in there and I look that they have too many failing grades, they haven't been making the parent contact and filling out their log that they're supposed to fill out about grades, I can go back and say, you know, this isn't for everyone, and we can find somebody else next year. And it's not like a firing, it's just a changing of stipend, which is a great thing. Next year, Sandy Fant and I are going to break up our campuses by feeder pattern, so I'll take two and she'll take two, and we're going to get out there and talk to principals to say, what kind of issues are you having so I can support your students on your campus even though that teacher is on another campus. I don't foresee adjunct teachers ever going away in Keller, though full-time teachers are better for students, but it's a funding issue and it has to do with how many kids we have. So each of our teachers will have anywhere from 250 to 300 kids next year with 5+ preps, and we will just be having the 3. Using campus FTEs. I know this is a hardship on the campus, and that's why I bring up my partnership with CTE. Rob Wright is agreeing to pay for paraprofessionals. I would like to see one at each middle school, except we have 2 that it's really helping the campus to use them because they teach a course that doesn't have enough kids, so they need more sections to teach. In Louisville, it's a choice. Campuses get to decide if they want to use a paraprofessional or a teacher, and I think we can work that out with our campuses to say, hey, if it works for you to use your FTE because they don't teach a course that makes across the board, please do that. But if it's more helpful for us to pay for a paraprofessional that reports to us, that we monitor and support, then let's do that, because they're making that money there, and Rob is happy to support us in that way. Proximity control. This is kind of a crazy thing. So if you just did a simple Google search to say what characteristics make good virtual students, you're going to see characteristics that make great face-to-face students. The reason it's different for us, the reason that is an essential thing, is that the students who don't have those great student characteristics need proximity control of a teacher in the room. So whenever I'm talking to students and their parents about, is I Choose a good fit for me, I would say, how much do you rely on proximity control of your teacher to make sure you're staying on task, getting the work done that you're supposed to do during the time that you're in the class? If you do not need that, you're probably going to be fine. If you do need that, you're probably going to have a difficult time unless you are willing to listen and change your ways, and we will give you all kinds of plan and support with that. So we have a tiered exit plan, and that is patterned after Avid's contract and probationary contract, and we're working with the counselors to make sure it's a smooth transition. We only sent 2 kids back to campus last year or this year, and they had been doing absolutely nothing. So we are very much aware that kids do those things, so we are proactive on finding the best place for them. And virtual learning is not for everybody. Here is one that we really don't have a solution for. Honors classes cannot be offered in TXVSN. They would not be approved. So we are only offering geometry honors and algebra 2 honors. The reason that TXVSN doesn't do it is for something you are very much aware of. The standards are the same for academic as they are for honors. So for their purposes, there's really no difference. Why would we offer both? With us, we provided the differentiation that we have in our curriculum documents for those classes, and they are different. So those students could not be in with a paraprofessional. They could be in with any certified teacher in that room, or there's only 6 of them throughout the whole district. They could sit in the back of a math classroom. Most of our kids are fine with that. And we have both Sandra Fant and myself that can come out to those campuses and provide tutoring for them, especially now that we won't have an in-house math and science teacher, which is really a good thing. Most districts do not provide a full-time math and science teacher, so that was a good cut for us. Lastly, I wanted to show you about our finances. Now, Jen, this slide is not completely up to date. We know that this figure of the money that we accrue from CTE courses is actually $1,100 some odd dollars, and we want to get a specific amount that we can put in there. So we'll update that before we present. So CTE courses, I talked about that earlier. It's that weighted funding. Not only that, it gives us more points for CCMR, and I know you know that. But we made over $1 million. This is in addition to the ADA funding that we kept and didn't lose when people wanted to leave. And CTE gets about a half of it, and the district gets the other half. And that's what Rob plans on using to help us with the issue of mentor teachers. Outside of school. So we offer classes in the summer and throughout the school year that students have to pay for. They're paying to take a course with our teachers. That's about $175 a course per semester. That has accrued $40,000 extra dollars for us. We do it in the summer, but doing it throughout the school year for kids it's usually juniors and seniors, want to have a 9th period. Maybe they're behind and they want to get ahead for whatever reason. This has been a huge solution for campuses, and our kids really love it. It's not an extra burden on our teachers because we use Canvas. They just go in there with the rest of the classes. But even through our outside of school offerings, we offer TXVSN courses to students outside of the district. And those courses can run anywhere from $300 to $400 per semester as well. So we have kids throughout the school year taking those courses outside the district. This was the first time we ever did such a thing, and this year we made $6,000. We foresee that going up because I know Sandy, when she's looking at TXVSN courses, she's looking for good quality. What we provide is a good quality, and the other districts around us look for the same thing too. They're wanting to know that you have processes in place to help students be successful. So Jen, I will have a total dollar amount on the bottom there, and the last thing I'm going to add, I don't have it now, is a resource slide. I just want them to have a if you want more slide, and try to get them to invite me back. I know that at one point Elaine did something where she showed them what our courses look like. They're so much better now because of Lori and the interactives we've used. So I would love an opportunity to come back and talk about course design and pedagogy, just so they know, while your processes and your program's great, what about your content? So I'll add those to this slide. If you think of something else you'd like me to add, please let me know. I am always loving the feedback. Have a great day.